The grand lobby of the luxury hotel buzzed with laughter and chatter. Yet in the corner, a young girl sat alone in her wheelchair. Her delicate hands rested on her lap, eyes scanning the crowd but never meeting anyone. She was the daughter of a powerful CEO, a little girl whose world had been made smaller by circumstances beyond her control. While others played and laughed, she felt invisible. Trapped in a bubble of silence, no one dared approach her, unsure of what to say or how to connect. That's when a man entered the scene, a single dad carrying a toy in his hands, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. With a warm, gentle voice, he said, "My daughter would love to play with you." Suddenly, the girl's curiosity flickered. Could this stranger break through the walls around her? Could a simple act of kindness bridge to very different worlds? In that moment, a spark of hope ignited, but no one knew how the encounter would unfold. Would she accept his invitation? Or would fear keep her locked away in her own world? What happened next changed everything, and you won't believe the twist waiting just around the corner. If you want, I can also craft a few punchy variations of this intro optimized for YouTube SEO to maximize engagement. Do you want me to do that? The little girl hesitated, her fingers tightening around the edge of her wheelchair. She had grown used to being careful, to staying out of reach, to watching the world from a distance. Her father, the CEO, was rarely around, always buried in meetings and deals, leaving her to navigate her quiet world alone. Friends were scarce, and invitations to play were almost non-existent. Most people didn't know how to approach a child like her, and she had learned to expect that. The single dad, however, didn't seem nervous or hesitant. There was a warmth in his smile, and a genuine gentleness in his voice, that made her heart flutter with something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. He knelt down to her level, holding out the toy with careful hands. "It's one of my daughter's favorites," he said softly. "She would love for you to play with it together." As she looked at him, questions bubbled in her mind. Who was he? Why was he here? Could she really trust someone so unfamiliar? And most importantly, what would her father think if he saw her laughing and playing with a stranger? The air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her next move, and in that silence, the story was just beginning to unfold. The little girl finally nodded, her eyes still cautious, but a flicker of curiosity breaking through. As the single dad handed her the toy, he noticed the way her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from long months of sitting alone, longing for a connection. He tried to make small talk, asking her about her favorite games, her school, and even the cartoons she liked. But each answer was careful, measured. It was clear she wasn't used to strangers or maybe anyone showing genuine interest in her world. Meanwhile, across the room, her father observed quietly, a mixture of pride and worry on his face. He wanted his daughter to feel joy, yet a protective instinct warned him not to let strangers get too close. The tension was palpable. Could he trust this man? Was he really just a single dad, or did something else hide behind his calm demeanor? At the same time, the single dad's own story lingered in the air. His daughter had been waiting for someone to play with, too, and he carried the weight of balancing work, responsibilities, and a little girl who relied on him completely. He wondered if opening this moment to another child could bring joy or risk heartbreak. In that quiet corner, two worlds teetered on the edge of connection. The air was filled with unspoken questions, promises, and the tension of what might happen next, leaving everyone watching, including the audience, on the edge of their seats. If you want, I can continue with the emotional turning point, where the little girl begins to open up, keeping the suspense high for the next part. Do you want me to do that? The little girl's fingers finally brushed against the toy, her movements tentative but filled with a strange excitement she hadn't felt in months. The single dad watched closely, encouraging her gently, but there was a subtle tension in the air. Every small smile, every flicker of laughter felt fragile, as if it could vanish the moment someone looked too closely. Her father, standing at a distance, felt his chest tighten. He wanted to step in, to control the situation, but something in the way the man spoke to his daughter made him pause. Was it possible that a stranger could reach her in ways he hadn't? Across the room, other guests began to notice the interaction. Whispers floated, some admiring, others skeptical. The little girl felt their eyes on her, and for a moment, doubt crept in. Could she really let herself enjoy this? Would her father approve? Would this man truly understand her world, one limited by her condition, yet full of untapped imagination? The single dad's own heart raced. He had hoped this encounter would be simple, a moment of shared joy, but the stakes were higher than he imagined. One wrong word, one sudden movement, could shatter the fragile trust they were building. As the little girl's laughter started to bubble up, so did the unspoken questions. What if this connection ended too soon? The room seemed to hold its breath. Everyone waited, including the audience. As the moment stretched to its breaking point, teetering on the edge of a life-changing choice, I can continue next with the actual climax, where the tension peaks and the stakes feel most intense, while still keeping the resolution for the following part. Do you want me to write that? Just as the little girl's laughter began to fill the corner of the lobby, a sudden commotion drew everyone's attention. A woman approached quickly, her expression a mixture of anger and urgency. Calling the girl's name, it was the CEO's assistant, someone who rarely showed emotion but now seemed determined to disrupt the fragile moment. "Sir, she shouldn't be playing here with strangers. she said sharply. Glancing at the single dad with suspicion, the little girl froze, caught between the warmth of the stranger and the strict rules she had been raised with. Her father stepped forward, a conflicted look on his face. Part of him wanted to enforce order, to keep his daughter safe, but another part, one he rarely admitted even to himself, longed to see her happy, to let her feel normal for even a moment. Meanwhile, the single dad felt a pang of panic. He hadn't expected anyone to interfere, and now the trust they had started to build hung by a thread. He held the toy closer, trying to reassure her, but he could see the fear flicker in her eyes. Could one small act of kindness survive in the face of authority and expectation? The tension in the lobby skyrocketed. Guests whispered, glancing between the girl, her father, and the man who had dared to reach out to her. Something about this moment felt bigger than just a game. It was a test of trust, courage, and the choices that would define everyone involved. The little girl's hands trembled as she looked from the single dad to her father, caught between fear, curiosity, and a longing she hadn't dared to feel in months. Then, slowly, she reached out and took the toy from him. A small, tentative smile spread across her face, and for the first time in a long while, laughter bubbled freely from her lips. The single dad's eyes softened, relief washing over him, but the tension in the room hadn't completely vanished. Her father took a hesitant step forward, expecting to reprimand or redirect her, but instead, he saw something he hadn't noticed before, spark of joy, unguarded and pure. He realized that this simple act of kindness, this connection with a stranger, had broken through the walls around his daughter more than anything he had tried. He nodded slowly, allowing the moment to continue. His own heart unexpectedly moved. Just as it seemed the tension had eased, the single dad leaned closer to the girl and whispered, "There's someone else who would love to meet you too." At that moment, a young woman appeared from the crowd, holding a small package and smiling warmly. She was the single dad's daughter, who had been watching quietly, waiting for the perfect moment to meet the little girl. The lobby erupted into a mix of surprise and delight. Two worlds, once isolated and lonely, were now about to collide in ways no one could have predicted. And just like that, what started as a moment of simple play transformed into the beginning of an extraordinary bond that would change both families forever. The little girl's eyes widened as she met the single dad's daughter, a shy smile spreading across her face. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. The two girls began to play together, sharing toys and laughter, their connection immediate and effortless. Her father watched quietly, a mix of relief and pride washing over him. He realized that letting someone else into their world didn't diminish his love or care, it enriched it. The single dad stood back, smiling as he watched the two girls interact. His heart felt full, knowing that this simple act of kindness had created a bond that would last far beyond this hotel lobby. He exchanged a grateful glance with the CEO, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Sometimes the smallest gestures have the biggest impact. As the day continued, the atmosphere shifted. Guests who had been whispering in curiosity now smiled warmly, inspired by the unexpected friendship that had formed. The little girl, once isolated and quiet, had discovered the joy of connection, while the single dad and his daughter had found a new friendship that bridged worlds. In the end, it wasn't wealth, status, or circumstance that mattered. It was compassion, courage, and the will